Hi everybody. So in this second part of our transformation lesson, you're going to see that we're going to have to do three of the easiest types of transformations. Doing a translation where you change the x and y numbers, and doing reflections both over the x-axis and y-axis. We are not doing anything where you have to graph your own rotations, graph your own hard reflections. We're only doing these three types because they're totally reasonable to do as we're doing the basics of coordinate geometry. So first, translations. First, and for all these problems, first thing you'll have to do is graph your points. And so I can see here at the top, if it's going to let me zoom in a little, I have a point at 1, 2, that's point A, 2, 4, that's point B, 3, 3, that's point C. I'm going to connect them into a triangle. I'm going to label them A, B, C. When you do this on Edge Elastic, it'll automatically do the labels A, B, C, but the one thing you'll have to do is not only click on point A, then point B, then point C, you'll have to click back on point A. So please, please, please take your time, read the instructions carefully to be able to make it into looking like a triangle. The little tool that you have will not be the point tool, the segment tool, or the line tool. It would be a tool called the polygon tool, and it requires you to go back to the first point to make it work right. All right, in terms of drawing the next one here, you can see x plus 1. That'll mean take all of your x numbers and add 1 to them. And so I'm going to do that here first. My first x number on A was 1. I'm going to change it to 2. My first x number on B was 2. I'm going to add 1 to make it 3. And my last x number on C was 3. I'm going to add 1 to make it 4. Then your second one here, as I move over to purple, thanks. The second thing here is it shows that it's y minus 5. This is going to get me some negative numbers. That's okay. Use a calculator if you're not good doing negatives in your head. But as you can see here, 2 minus 5 would be negative 3. 4 minus 5 would be negative 1. And 3 minus 5 would be negative 2. And then I'm just going to graph these. 2, negative 3, 3, negative 1, 4, negative 2. Now, the right way to do this, if we were doing this on paper, would be label them as A prime, B prime, and C prime, a little apostrophe after each one. On Edge Elastic, it's going to make you label them as D, E, and F, because Edge Elastic doesn't have a transformation command on it. So I want you to see here in the notes the way it'll look correctly on an assignment, or on a worksheet, on a problem that's given to you with the little apostrophes, but it's no problem to make them as 3 different points if you needed to. Notice all 3 of the points here. The triangle, it has not been turned, it has not been rotated, it has not been reflected. It's just been shifted right 1 and down 5, almost like a slope of negative 5. But we've changed each point by the exact same amount, and this is what a translation is going to do. And you'll have 2 of these problems here. Next one here, point D, point E, and point F. Not all the triangles are exactly the same, but they do have some similarities. And I'm looking to reflect it over the x-axis. If you think about where the x-axis is, and as if I flip them, what I'm going to have to do is move each point down to the x-axis, that many spaces, and that many more away. So notice point D is 3 spaces above the x-axis, where I drew the green line. I'm going to make a new point D prime 3 spaces below the x-axis. Notice it's still negative 2, but the y number is shifted to negative 3. So take a moment here to notice that my original number here was positive 3, and my new number here is negative 3. All right, instead of 5 above, I'll make point E prime 5 below, which means it's at negative 5 instead of positive 5. And point F, 4 spaces above the green x-axis, so I go 4 spaces below, which would make it at negative 4. Notice all of my x numbers are the same, and all my y numbers have flipped. Even though we flipped this over the x-axis, notice it's the y numbers that have changed. That's a nice little thing to notice and maybe use yourself. At the same point in time, we're not memorizing rules in this chapter. If we were doing a whole chapter or half chapter on just transformations, then we would do that. But on a single multi-lesson here, 1 or 2 lessons, we're not doing that much. Last thing here, can you graph these other points here? -4, 1. I have point G here. -3, -5. Point H down here. -1, -2. Point J there. G, H, J. Just a reminder, at Edge Elastic, you'll click back from point J to point G to finish making your shape. So it's click once, click twice, click 3 times on the original 3 points, and then you click a 4th time back on the first point to complete the polygon, because Edge Elastic won't know you're trying to make a triangle, so you have to click to the original point to make it end. And then I'm looking to do this over the y-axis. Remember, the y-axis is this straight up and down thing. If we're flipping it over, we're moving every point the same number of points away. And so I'm going to do point J first because it's closest. Point J is just 1 space away on that side. So I'm going to make my new point, J prime, 1 space away on this side. Notice it would be +1, -2. Oh, look, that the original number was negative and my new number is positive. That's a nice little note to do, that it flips signs and changes signs. So let me do that for the other points as well. Point G is 4 spaces away to the left. I'll make a new point 4 spaces away on the right side. Call that G prime. Point H, 3 spaces away on the left. I'll make my new point H prime 3 spaces away on the right. And all my negative x values ended up turning positive. G, H, J, click back if it was Edge Elastic on the original point there. And making sure I write this down, it's 4, +1, and it was +3 for H, but still -5 in the y direction. Only the x numbers changed. So it's a little weird. The y numbers changed with reflecting over the x-axis, and the x numbers changed with reflecting over the y-axis. But if you're a visual person, you don't have to memorize the coordinate rules, because we're not doing a chapter on memorizing rules and knowing all our stuff about graphing these transformations. We're doing a single 2-part lesson on it. We're not doing anything more than that, because this is supposed to be introduction to coordinate geometry. We'll do more coordinate geometry with triangles in future chapters and other shapes as we move into other things, using the same things we've done this whole chapter. We're going to continue to use, after this chapter, slope, distance, midpoint, transformations, Pythagorean theorem, and things like that. All these equations of lines, all these will come up as we move on to future chapters also. This was a chapter to learn all the different things. Just so you guys know, this is the last lesson of this chapter for my CP classes. AC classes, we do have another lesson next week, distance formula and Pythagorean theorem, that we haven't learned yet. But CP classes, we are done with this, and that's why CP classes, we're taking a quiz, not on this topic, don't worry, and then taking a test next week as well. So, if you have any questions, please ask your substitute. If you need any help, please schedule that time for after-school tutoring. Hopefully I'm back tomorrow. And whatever else you guys need, if it's something that can wait, thank you for waiting till I'm back and working, 8-10 hours a day. And instead of right now where I'm barely able to put in 1 to 2 hours a day. So take care, everyone, and I'll hope to see you guys soon.